the fall of 1973, Leonard Cohen was living on the island of Hydra with his partner, the photographer Suzanne Elrod, and their son Adam. 39 years old, Cohen was struggling with depression and seriously considering getting out of the music business altogether. "I have songs in the air, but I don't know how to pull them down," he said. In a lost manuscript of Cohen's, first published in Matti Friedman's recent book, Who by Fire, he describes a fight with Suzanne with real and/or imagined dialogue and rendered in verse without quotations so as to confuse the author with his interlocutor. "The kitchen was once beautiful. Oil lamps, order, the set table, Sabbath observed. That's what I want. You don't want it. You don't know what I want. You don't know anything about me. You never did. Not in the beginning. Not now. The lonely," we said. "Your unkindness," we said. "Your greed. Your unkindness. Your bitter tongue. Give me time. You never learn. Your ancestors. My ancestors." I said, "Because it is so horrible between us, I will go stop Egypt's bullet." Leonard Cohen boarded a plane in October 1973. He would return to Suzanne, to his son, and to Hydra, where he would write this manuscript and new songs for his 1974 album, New Skin for the Old Ceremony. The 9th track of that album unfolds in one of the handwritten notebooks quoted in Friedman's book. Hydra, March 1974. And who shall I say is calling? 2 pages later, the notebook reads, "Who by fire? Who by water? Who in the sunshine? Who in the nighttime? Who by stern command? Who by his own hand? Who in the midst of love? Who by the angry mob? And who shall I say is calling?" He would never say, writes Friedman, that it was his experience in Sinai, at those intimate concerts where music was a matter of life and death, that restored his faith in what he had to say, or if in Israel he really found the place he imagined in his manuscript, the one where he could begin again. That wasn't Cohen's style. "I came to raise their spirits, and they raised mine," Cohen did say of his time with the Israeli troops. Friedman writes, "If he'd lost his creative thread at 39, it wouldn't have come as a surprise. Most singers don't even make it that far. What's unique is that he didn't burn out, that he managed to resurrect himself. Had he faded that year, we would be without Hallelujah, Anthem, Everybody Knows, and many other masterpieces. Anyone touched by those songs would be different had they never been written." I am certainly one who has been touched by those songs and the complex life and legacy of Leonard Cohen. Last month, my family and I traveled to Quebec and Cohen's hometown of Montreal. One day, after taste comparing Montreal bagels, my daughter was interested in hitting some vintage clothing shops, not my favorite activity. So while they shopped, I took a long walk up the back of Montreal to the old Jewish cemetery there. I've never been one for pilgrimages to Rebbe's graves, but I have to tell you, this did feel like a pilgrimage. I was in sort of a trance the whole time. I located Leonard Cohen's footstone, which is in about as picturesque a location as one can imagine. A motley crew of stones encircled the traditional Hebrew marker. Pink and white flowers bloomed on the grave, as they did on his father's, grandfathers, and great-grandfathers nearby. I sat on a slope in the shade, opposite the grave for a long while. Other pilgrims came and went, some with headphones, clearly listening to his music, Suzanne, or So Long Marianne, or Bird on a Wire. Cohen's headstone stands under a large shade tree. It's simple, with the artist's English name, his dates, and the so-called unified heart, a sort of Magen David he invented, made with 2 interlocking hearts that first appeared on the cover of Cohen's 1984 poetry collection, Book of Mercy. It's a book of original psalms, really. The 50th and final psalm reads, "I lost my way. I forgot to call on your name. The raw heart beat against the world, and the tears were for my lost victory. But you are here. You have always been here. The world is all forgetting, and the heart is a rage of directions. But your name unifies the heart, and the world lifted into its place. Blessed is the one who waits in the traveler's heart for his turning." My friends, we're coming up on Yizkor, on this 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, which saw so much bloodshed. I find myself thinking about Leonard Cohen's pilgrimage to Sinai. At Yizkor, all of us are pilgrims, aren't we? We arrive with our travelers' hearts on a journey of rediscovery. We seek, if only for a few moments, reunification. Some of us today may recall loved ones who perished on this day or in that war, like my friend Dina from Los Angeles, whose father was a helicopter pilot in the IDF and was shot down after meeting his baby daughter only once. Or Miriam's cousin Samit, who will share her story of loss on video this afternoon during the break. Most of us, though, arrive to this Yizkor as we do each Yom Kippur, with memories of parents and siblings, spouses, some of us children we lost along life's journey. Some of us bring new names to our Yizkor prayers, like that of my sister. My sister Wendy Connolly, Rivka Aviva Bat Eliezer, Verena Fradel. But all of us who remember, no matter how or where we lost our loved ones, are on a pilgrimage. We carry with us the laughter and lessons, moments and regrets, hugs and kisses, the meals we shared and the places we visited. Leonard Cohen went on pilgrimage 50 years ago to stop Egypt's bullets. He might have been trying to forget more than he was trying to remember, but he seems to have remembered why he was a poet and a musician. The war was his muse. Here's how he later described his time in the Sinai. We would just drop into little places like a rocket site, and they would shine their flashlights at us, and we would sing a few songs. Or they would give us a Jeep, and we would go down the road toward the front, and wherever there were a few soldiers waiting for a helicopter or something like that, we would sing a few songs. And maybe back at the air base, we would do a little concert, maybe with amplifiers. It was very informal and, very intense. Cohen went to a war, but he wasn't a fighter. He was an artist, one deeply ambivalent about war and violence. James Baldwin once wrote, "Societies never know it, but the war of an artist with his society is a lover's war. And he does at his best what lovers do, which is to reveal the beloved to himself, and with that revelation to make freedom real." Leonard Cohen was many things, but he was definitely a lover. So maybe it shouldn't surprise us that against the backdrop of this terrible war, the song he produced in the Sinai during those weeks was his immortal Lover, Lover, Lover. Legendary Israeli musician Mati Kaspi played guitar with Cohen during those impromptu concerts and said Cohen wrote the lyrics and melody on stage and developed the song through each performance. Cohen didn't have a gun, he had a guitar, but his music, melancholy and magical, was a shelter, a shield for the soldiers in the desert. On some level, it protected them. And may the spirit of this song he sang, may it rise up pure and free, May it be a shield for you, a shield against the enemy. Later, he would expand that shield and say that he meant both Israelis and Arabs who ought to be protected. May the spirit of Yizkor do the same for us, as Cohen's music did for those young soldiers in the wilderness 50 years ago. Blessed is the one who waits in the traveler's heart for his turning. May these ancient words and the ability to say them in this sacred community be a shield for us against our sorrow. May our hearts be unified in remembrance. May our pilgrimage to memory bring us strength to live with their absence and their eternal presence.